Does anybody have the right to take a potential life? Abortion and the ethics behind it is a topic of today's AngelDodger.
I've got to take it further! No! Goku! Times 4!
This discussion about abortion has nothing to do with religion. We're taking that aside because that's going to go into a whole different topic that I don't want to get into right now. So, the first thing that we're going to discuss is our opinions on whether or not abortions are ethical. What do you think?
Personally, I mean, it's really not about ethics. I mean, that's my opinion. I think it's more about the situation. I mean, for example, if someone gets raped and let's say a child is a result of that, that person may want to abort the child.
If you're saying that it's situationally based, there are cases in which you think it's justified.
I guess you could say that, so yeah.
So, you do see that at some point you're like, okay, well, I can see why this person wants to abort the
right.
kid. So, you would say in some cases, yes.
Yes.
All right.
I guess you can say that. Yeah.
I would, if you're saying that, then,
yeah.
All right, then I would actually agree with that. And I think that those cases are overlooked. I mean, like you mentioned, what if somebody gets raped? You're telling me that, they don't have the right to potentially terminate that child? What if somebody ends up in a situation where early in the pregnancy, like a month, they have like a job and a place, whatever, and 2 months later, they end up, they're losing their job, they don't have a place, to raise the baby, or they get divorced from their other half and they can't necessarily take care of the baby in the way that they originally intended. Maybe they want to get rid of the baby then. Is it fair for the baby to be brought up in a situation where they're going to be at a disadvantage compared to the rest of the average society? I would say that's not fair, and it's not necessarily okay to bring a child into a world like that when you know that this child's going to be at a disadvantage. It's not fair to the child, or the fetus in that case.
And the other thing I was going to say too, when you're really going in detail with those situations, another good situation is, what if the mother's a deadbeat, or what if the father's a deadbeat? They're just not emotionally or mentally equipped to take care of the child. It could be like, the father's a deadbeat and is hardly there and he just like fucks around or like screws around, versus the mother, or it could be the other way around where the mom is just likes to screw around and she happens to get pregnant. It's just one of those things. Personally, for me, again, I know it's going to sound like I'm biased because I'm a female, but I really feel like the woman has a choice, more say so than the guy. The only exception that I would make to that rule is, I'm going to keep it 100, is if they're married. Like, let's say they're truly married and they want to have a kid, and let's say the woman, like, freaks out and she's like, I can't do it. I would suggest having a conversation with your spouse. It really depends on the person, but I mean, in this, I would say 9 out of 10 times, if not 99% of the time, it should be the female that has a say because she's got to carry the kid.
In the relationship. In any relationship.
Yeah, well, again, it goes back to being situationally based because there are other mitigating factors that we may not know about. So, like, classic example, rape. I say in that situation, the female has 100% say, as far as I'm concerned, because she's got to carry the kid, and she's got to make the decision to carry the kid for, 9 months.
What if the female wants to keep the baby, but the man does not?
Then that's a tricky situation. Like, again, like, whew. I don't know, because it's like, if the guy really does not, like, if the guy doesn't want to keep the baby and the female does, again, that's something they're going to hash out. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer. It really depends on the situation, because there are some situations where females want to keep the baby but the guy doesn't, and there's really not much you can do about it. And then I mean, there are incidences where, actually some of these were in the news, where, like, there was a lady, she had a kid and the guy found out, she wanted to keep it, and the guy kicked her down the flight of stairs and beat the crap out of her to try to get her to force her to abort the baby when she didn't. So it's like, again, it's like, what do you do? So, but I mean, I didn't even think of it from that angle. I was really thinking of it from a female's perspective. So it really just, again, it depends.
Well, I'll give you my take, which is a bit more clear cut. I mean, you did open my mind for a second. I thought about, what if it was rape? But I was going to originally say, because I was thinking more of the respective relationships, that it's equal.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 say.
It has to be that both parents want it.
A lot of people look at abortions as like the worst thing in a possible world, but I mean, is it
ethically any worse than giving up a child that you know that you never. I mean, like having a child that you know that you're not going to take care of and giving it up for adoption. I don't really see.
I don't see it that way.
Well, how do you see it?
I mean, like, in other words, I don't see an abortion being worse than actually versus. In other words, I see you as a parent, or not you, but I mean, I see the person as a parent who actually brought the child in the world, giving the child way worse than an abortion. Mm-hmm. Just for the fact that you knowingly brought someone into this world or onto this planet, and you just said, fuck it, I had this kid, and now I'm going to give you away, and you're going to have no say about it. I'm making the decisions for you versus having the abortion. Because it's like, you might as well just get it over. I mean, it sounds so harsh coming from me, but it's almost like you might as well just get it done and over, which is abort the fetus or abort the baby before it's born, instead of having to go through all that. Because then that child that you're giving away is going to grow up knowing that, and feeling like they weren't wanted. So, I mean, you're putting an extra burden on top of that child, by doing that. Versus, okay, get rid of it.
That's my point, is that overall in this episode is that they are ethical, abortions, for many reasons. One, because a lot of people shouldn't be having kids. Kids are going to be, if they weren't abortions, they would be put in situations where they're in unfair advantages, and a lot of them aren't going to make it. And if you're in a society where people aren't responsible with sex, and they aren't necessarily ready to be parents, it's better to put kids, well, sometimes they're kids, parents, potential parents, and give them the opportunity to not have children. It's just a fact that I think some people have to get over and understand. Yes, you could be killing the next president. Yes, you could be killing somebody that could do something great for society. But more often than not, you're doing a greater good by getting rid of a kid who really doesn't have a chance. And that's just my take on the whole situation. Anyways, that's the end of the episode. I am AngelDodger. Thank you for showing up today. Your name is Blaize, by the way, in case nobody realized.
Hi, I'm Blaize.
I did not mention that until just now. Silly me. I'm AngelDodger. I will see you next time. If you like this episode, check out my most recent episode on the left, which talks about how to write your resume. Also, check out my video in the middle, which discusses and advocates another controversial topic, euthanasia. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.